Winspiration, the way to the essential. On UK Health Radio, Winspiration brings wisdom and information for an extraordinary future. Together, we can shape the world we want to live in. So let's get real and create the idea. Be extraordinary. Welcome to another episode of Winspiration Radio, and we want to give you today special information regarding maybe your health, your immune system. And the special guest today is Dr. Stefanie Merse. She is a medical doctor, so she went the classical way, studied in Germany, but she was not satisfied with what she all learned at the university and studied so much more. She studied how frequency can influence and heal the body, has invented even medical devices, and especially also in the COVID problems. She is very educated in this, created a symposium for educating people who are doctors or working in the health field about long-term COVID problems, and even wrote a book, interesting book, Blackout, what happened especially also for the medical area, the health area, hospitals, if no electricity is there. So very enormous spectrum what she is studying, and you could say a holistic doctor. So it's a real pleasure to have you today here in the show. Stefanie, thank you for joining us. And maybe you like to add something or correct something what I said.
Thank you very much for this invitation, Wolfgang. I'm very proud to be here in the UK Health Radio. It's the first time for me, and I hope my English is sufficient for a very good talk with you. Yes, I am a late doctor. I started to study medicine in the age of 30. In my first life, I was a teacher at school. And I discovered that medicine is one of my hard things I wanted to do. I had the idea when I was a teenager, but there were some stones in my way. Mm-hmm. The first stone was to get the license to go to the university. My background, my parents are normal workers, and I'm the first in my family who got the license to go to the university. Mm-hmm. And I decided to start medicine in the age of 30 in the part of my life when I was a young mother with 3 sons. And we had a lot of experience together to study, to be a mother, to care, and to work at the same time. And I learned both the conventional medicine, which is taught at the university, and at the same time, I studied a lot of natural medicine. And I had a lot of very good teachers who made this way for more than 30 years with a lot of experience.
But that was besides the university. You just mentioned, I learned this at university, and then I had teachers outside the university.
Yes. This was, I grew up with 2 different medical languages. Mm-hmm. The university language was not actual usual medicine, mm-hmm. and the complementary medicine, which is thinking different and has a holistic view on the patient. And sometimes I go out of the classroom at the university and was thinking, okay, today you told me what you don't know.
I have a question. Just you mentioned the word complementary, or like in Germany, we always talk about the alternative or whatever. Is it really complementary? For sure it could be, but when you studied these two with or was it also more contradicting?
I think we can treat the patients very well when we know everything. That what the university medicine can do, and that what is common from the elder generation, what is from different perspectives in the natural medicine. And if you are able to put all this together and you have a pool of all these different methods, you can choose what is important for this special patient.
Okay, so that means if you only study alternative, you miss something out. If you only go to the university, you miss something out. We have a kind of limited education.
Every medicine builds up a part of medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And in this time, we are in a situation we need different tools to treat the patient very well.
Mm-hmm.
We need to know a lot of infection disease. We need to know a lot of pharmaceutical medicine. We need a lot to know about herbal medicine. We need a lot to know about the power of word,
Mm-hmm.
for example.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a part in the medicine that's very new.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have heard of the placebo effect.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You give a pill without drug, and it works.
Yeah.
And now you discover how it will be work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the imagine it might have the power to save you. And another effect is the nocebo effect.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell everything the medical drug can make, this effect can be induced by the words or the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there's a medication to lower the blood pressure.
Yeah.
And they're listed that men can have problems with their erection.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell the patient it might happen,
Mm-hmm.
most of the young patients have this
Mm-hmm.
phenomenon. If they don't know that it might happen,
Mm-hmm.
they have problems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's a nocebo effect. And that is a form of communication that is important to teach the young medical students in young times in the first classes. The power of the words.
The power of the energy. But there was just a nice, nearly a nice situation. Like the nocebo effect is also the doctor says, oh, you have 3 months to live, 6 months to live. And then people believe it. And we have the term self-fulfilling prophecy for it. Why you think you just with the placebo, if there was no healing, even if there was no, if it was a kind of whatever, chocolate pill or whatever, not medical stuff in, why the so-called science medicine is so upset and rejecting it? Because we should be happy at healed and we should look more into it.
There's a change. In former times it was rejected, mm-hmm. and nowadays it will be used. There are a lot of experience in the neurological field, in mm-hmm. the pain treatment, mm-hmm. and there they discovered that it works. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there are a lot of papers who tell us how it works, and sometimes it is you are focused on it. If you have back pain and take 3 times a pill against back pain, you have a focus on that pill that it works to lower the back pain.
Yeah.
And so the mental support this effect in the body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is one kind of explanation how it can work. And you told me 2 sentences ago, if the doctor would say something about the lifetime, the ending of the lifetime, there are studies who show if you say you have 6 weeks, 80% of the patients go after 6 weeks and leave this planet.
Mm.
If you tell the patient, I don't know how long is your lifetime, we can see it afterwards, how long, if you have 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years. But I can't tell you because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Then this patient can use self-regulation to influence these cells, and the lifetime can be much longer than we expect.
Mm-hmm. This is also not just a nocebo factor, it's just because the nocebo might work so well because we have the doctor on a pedestal, so it's an authority. And what he says, we believe more stronger. So if it's, like you said, open 6 weeks, months, years, and everything, so that is not a clear direction. So I don't need to follow these advice. It's a strict order. Mm-hmm.
When I'm in charge as a doctor and have a patient, I have to choose my words very, very well.
Yeah,
I can induce negative information, and I can heal with my words. I can use it in opposite way too. For example, it's very, very important that students learn how to communicate very well and to know how big is the power of the words. It can be broad and turn to death, but otherwise it can be very calm and support the life.
Yeah, when we think about the Emoto experiments with the language and water crystals, and even we're maybe up to 70% water, so we should normally accept that there's a lot of power in words because it's all is the frequency. And so we had no idea maybe what else is missing out in the classical university, call it doctor education, like the frequency, the words, the alternative medicine. And the focus is not really on health. This is more on sickness. Am I right? I've never studied medicine, but a lot of doctors told me we had a lot of tests to make, but nothing about health.
That's a difficult question. We have a system, it's called Gesundheitssystem, a health system. But on the opposite side, Krankenversicherung, sickness insurance.
Yeah.
And these are two words which are the ends of opposite. It includes the opposite.
Well, that I think was the history. It's like I studied law, and in the German language, it's the science of who is right. So we need people fighting, and because then we can say who is right. So I never was trained to avoid the fights, the opinions, and so moderation or mediation was never in my study. And the sickness insurance don't pay you for prevention. You need to be sick before they pay something. I hope it's just a historical thinking, and we change more and more of it.
The medical system has changed. In former times, it was to make patient healthy and to support that they stay healthy a very long time. It's history from China that the doctors only paid until the patients were healthy, and in the case they were ill, the doctors have to cure them for free. And the point of prevention is nowadays going into the mind, and the patient want to do more to get longer healthy. They want to have advices what can I do? How much hours should I sleep? How many water should I drink? What nutrition is healthy? And what points I should avoid?
You're talking about water and nutrition. Is it really part of the university education? Not so much.
A few hours are spent with this really, and this part is growing and might grow. It's called prevention medicine. It's upcoming and growing. And I am very proud that I was over 7 years responsible for teaching communication to the medical students. At the university, we built up a center, a simulation center, and we were working with actors. The actors learned the role, how to behave, how to simulate, for example, a heart attack. And students get a real setting of the ambulance, and then they have to treat the actor patient like a real patient. And often they didn't know it was an actor, and they have to treat him. And the part of the communication was important. How was the outcome in this field? Because the actor had different options to act. And if they communicate very well, they get a lot of information and come to the right solution and can save the patient. Or in other field, if they communicate less or bad, they got less information and the actor patient might die. And these trainings were very, very important. And nowadays, every university in Germany has such a simulation center. It's one of the medical teaching.
Super. Very interesting. Very interesting. I know you're familiar with what I call just a frequency medicine or whatever. We had years ago talks about essential oils and I couldn't really understand when I take this plant or this oil that I can heal this and that. How did they know what to do? But I learned that the organs or these oils have different frequency, and then they know what to do. And can you please explain a little bit more about that?
We have a big knowledge from the history of the plants. If you get the old books from the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th century, it was written down very specific. What is the special of this plant? Where is it growing? What kinds of essential it offers to us? Which part we can use? And one part is very important to use to know how much, because if you use less, it can be healthy. If you use a lot of the same plant, it can be very poisonous. And this is very special knowledge, and a lot of this traditional knowledge we forget, and it was not delivered the last 2 or 3 generations. All the people got it from their mother, their grandmother, and they know what to do.
Yeah.
And today we have to re-educate this traditional form of medicine.
Yes, because of at least in Europe, all the so-called witches were burned, so who had a different opinion. It's a little bit like we experience it in COVID or in other areas. Who has a different opinion easily? If it's a political opponent, we are still ready to kill and not searching, like you said, to find the balance. Because what you mentioned with the plants, if you have the right dose, it works. Less and not enough, it doesn't work. Too much, it can be awful and even killing. but we have it in everything. If I work too much, not enough. If I go in a gym and I do too much, it can kill me also. That's why it's nearly every wise system says it's so important to have the right balance. So what is the right balance for a human?
The right balance is individual. A newborn child needs other treatment than a teenager or a younger ager or an elderly people. And so you have to find the balance for in every age of your lifetime.
Or even in the age for the individual. Like I'm born after the big war, so my parents were happy when we had food on the table, and the classical saying, "You eat what is on the table." But if there's 2, 3, 4, 5, or 12 people, everybody got the same. Different ages, well, no topic. Different energy system, no. So everybody had the same. So do we really need totally different thinking and more individualizing? There's too much.
Much information at the same time. And in the age of the 50s and 60s years, we have other Herausforderungen. I don't know the word.
Challenges.
Challenges. It was a time of rebuilding the society. Yeah, to get to go to school, to get a lot of knowledge, to have work, to have a house. And now we are 50 years later, we have other challenges. We have a flat where we can live, where we have a roof over our head, we live in safety, we have water from the tap, which we can drink. We go around the corner to buy food, and we have another, we have a lot of, how can I explain it? We have a change in our constitution and in our immune system.
Yeah.
The last 20 years, the electric advices have changed.
Okay.
20 years ago, it was extraordinary that you have your own PC at home. Now you have a PC in your cell phone, and we have a more hours we spend with it. We have changed our position. We are sitting, putting the neck down to look in the hand with advice. We are not walking so much. Yeah, we have sitting workplaces, and there are a lot of changes, and so we have to change what we are feeding us. Yeah, because we have another bedürfnis.
Yeah, always there's a simply need the body.
Yes, needs. Yes.
Yeah. Nutrition. Yeah, the electrosmog, what you mentioned, is a different topic. We didn't have that in the 50s. For sure not. Yes, I remember something. Not actually what we did, but at the time when I had my law office and I had the PA secretary sitting in front, and she was sitting on a computer, and then there was a printer or a fax machine or whatever. And it was interesting, in the afternoon, she made more mistakes. And we didn't realize it really. We saw, okay, there was a lot of mistakes, but not thinking about electrosmog. Maybe she just was not the full intention. But then we got something for the chair, and there was a kind of magnets in and everything. So something changed, and suddenly she did less mistakes, and even because it protected her from the electrosmog. At least we believed it at that time. And so, I mean, you're nodding. So then comes the question: what is your advice or your view on this? how can I protect myself best today?
One part which I prefer is go in contact to the nature.
Mm-hmm. So recharging all the time.
It is a kind of recharging. Go out in the forest and pull off and go in contact with the ground.
Yeah, barefoot.
And
yeah.
I was very surprised. I didn't do it for nearly 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the forest, my whole family, we had a meeting with a ranger. Mm-hmm. And then he told us, put off your shoes and walk down through the little water and go on the other side. And everybody stopped and they put off the shoes and then walk through the water, I don't know, and then walk through the forest with unknown underground. Mm-hmm. It's the first moment, it makes us scary.
Yeah.
And then we tried it. And I remember I made it years ago. And
what was it seen for you? What the one part is the feet. I get scared, oh God, because I'm not trained. Will it hurt my feet and everything? Just the different. But we just came from the word more going in the balance and then train our system. So what did it change for you to be recharged? You felt it directly?
I felt it at the moment we put on the shoes again. Mm-hmm. And that was strange because the feeling without shoes was more naturally, more in the inner and felt by heart than to put shoes on again. Mm-hmm. And then I remember the time that when I was a young girl, I put off the shoes at every moment I could. And if you look at the little children, they throw out their socks and their shoes when they are little and walk barefoot. Mm-hmm. And that is something we can recover and use it to research and stay in contact to the earth again.
Would you even go so far to suggest, because I know someone who lives in a town but has no shoes, no socks, he always walks barefoot. And even, if I remember right, Steve Jobs had once a period he always walked barefoot. Would you really suggest this?
No, I prefer the balance. Use both, but in a balanced way. Mm-hmm. Not only shoes and not only barefoot. Use both when it is possible.
Okay, when it's possible. Let's make a short break, and then we come to a different topic.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Just the wording, when it's possible, gives me here maybe the possibility to talk with you about your book. You wrote a book, Blackout. So then, and it's a very interesting story, touching, and was a lot of ahas for me. What happens if there is no electricity in the town? And especially also then in the hospital, how long can that last? What challenges are there for the doctors, for the patients, for the life itself? What made you, as a health specialist, to come to a point, I need to write a book about this blackout topic?
Yeah, a blackout came to me nearly 2 years ago. I got it in my mind and thought about what might happen, because we had a lot of books and films about this topic, but not of the medical view. Mm-hmm. And I started to think what might happen in my consultory, what might happen in the hospital, what might happen in my neighborhood. And I started to think, would I be possible to save the 200 people which live very close in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I start to think, what will happen at first if the electricity is away? What might break down and which challenges we have to survive?
Mm-hmm.
And this was a beginning point, the starting point of collect informations.
But it was not in the beginning about the hospital, just the people in your street and so neighbors. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I was first thinking, then searching, then I had a lot of interviews, for example, with firemen who are responsible for our medical treatment in our city. I asked with impression who are responsible for energy, who are responsible for water. And I got a lot of information. And the first idea was to write a handbook for the other medical doctors, how to treat patients. Because if there is no electricity, you don't have sonography, you don't have an EKG for electrocardiography, you don't have a laboratory. And the only things what you have are your senses. Yeah. And the blackout book is called Medicine with Seven Senses.
Mm-hmm.
You need your eyes, your ears, your nose, your feeling, to discover temperature, and so on. And you need a lot of spirit and inspiration to feel what might happen. Some call it instinct, and that is not trained during the medical student time. You learn medicine by
Mm-hmm.
light fun.
We have a lot of machines, which just says instinct, but it's also a totally different intention. Like you said, okay, the electricity takes the machines away. I'm not always experiencing a doctor who is really interested in me, what I feel, how it is, because he uses it. It's like modern car mechanic is not really interested in the car anymore. He just has his whatever tools and checks this. Okay, then we change this. I don't know if the modern car mechanic could build a car. So that is totally different intention. I need want to understand the other person in the body or the system or whatever you call it.
In such a crisis, you have your hands, you have a stethoscope,
Mm-hmm.
and perhaps you have a finger clip for oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to use the rudimentary instruments
Mm-hmm.
and to discover what is wrong with the patient and how you can treat or help him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first idea, to make this visible for my colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a lot of difficulties to write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start with a little short story, and I gave it to my friends, and they told me, interesting, how this story will go on. And which story? You started the story. I want to know what happened to this person.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the impact to don't write a handbook, but to write a history.
Mm-hmm.
And this history, I know it would be a play in the time of 10 years
Mm-hmm.
in a big city, in the heart of the area of Ruhr.
Mm-hmm.
350,000 people are living there. And I write it from the different perspective. The doctora is the main figure in this book, and she describes what setting she has in the ambulance by the breakdown, and they don't know how to get from one room to the other, to know which patients, how many are there, and how can they were sent home or not.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other day, what might happen if there is an injured person who needs really quick first and second aid?
Mm-hmm.
How long could the hospitals work? How long is the capacity? And now after I wrote the book, a lot of medical directors read it and started to investigate how much time could our hospital be in charge and give service.
Yeah.
And they discovered that everything would be fine. They can give medical service up to 72 hours.
3 days.
And then 3 days. And then support from other parts are necessary to go on and working in the hospitals. And 3 days are only 3 days of 10 days.
Yes, it's really tough to read in your book. After 3 days, emergency room setting, is off, no electricity. So you need to decide, okay, which patients maybe I give a little bit more, but watch them dying. And well, we all heard about it. Oh, maybe we have a few days no electricity. Go and shop maybe some food, but you don't need in the fridge. So what you always can have. So I just thought so far in surviving at home, but how you cook and everything was a simple thing. But I was even so stupid. For my mobile phone, I looked for a solar charger, but in your book I realized it doesn't help if my phone is working. But you can't anyway call someone because, if no electricity, so you only can use it maybe as a flashlight or whatever. It was really, really the consequences that was so much thought through, but also scary, especially for all the little kids who travel, but in a hospital. Well, a lot of problems we are not thinking of.
Mm-hmm. I got experience of Latin America and learned a lot of medicine there on a very low level.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that the people can bear a lot of challenges, and they are very strong if they need to be strong. And in this book, I wrote a lot of auxiliaries and ideas how you can help yourself and your family field. And I had a lot of lectures with this book, and the feedback was, and where can I find how to do this? And this is my next challenge. And the next month, I go in the forest and write the handbook for the blackout book.
The handbook for the blackout book. Yeah, I really can imagine. But my idea was, I grew up when I got my driving license. We had maps, so I drove in a different town and I had a map, and I could find somehow my way, or I needed to ask sometimes, but I could read maps. I'm not sure. Now I have a GPS. How do I read a map? And there are maybe people out of there, they had a driving license, but never saw the live map. So
you are a very, very lucky person, Wolfgang. You know how to read a map and you can remember very quick. Yes, and handle it. But the young people, they never learned it. Yeah, if their a smartphone drops down and is offline, some of them would have problems to find back their home or to visit their friends without navigation. And this is one point you should train. I give the advice, if you want to imagine what might happen by a blackdown, go to your home and put it in the afternoon at 4 p.m. or lose all electricity down and look what happened till you go to bed. And you can imagine in this part, in these few hours, what challenges you have to handle in your own home.
Okay, in such a short time, for sure I can get stressed. Just once lost my phone. My whole life was in there. It's not just phone. I still call it phone. But everything was in there. All connections, all that. It's like today also. I grew up when we had the phone. We needed to dial a number, not just press a button. And my finger knew which number to dial. I remembered a lot of phone numbers. And this means also from the brain, developing areas in the brain. So it's not just simply reading a map. If you're not maybe special areas of your brain not used in the first 20, 30 years. And now you need to build up kind of brain area. Is that true? You're nodding.
Yes, we don't use a lot of parts of our brain. Mm-hmm. And if I meet younger people and I ask, we can stay in contact, tell me your phone number. And the moment I have to look, they don't know their own cell phone number. Mm-hmm. And that's the first training. Mm-hmm. Learn your own number and learn 2 or 3 numbers more of people you need to contact. But if in a case of emergency, another person is there and can support you with a cell phone, but you need to know the number in your head.
Yeah.
That's the first training. Learn your own number and the number of 2 or 3 friends and families.
Wow. Okay. Just let's make a short break.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
So there was one tip, learning important numbers. You especially need in the emergency, learn the phone numbers. So what else? We have the blackout and maybe not the blackout. So what are the top 5 tips for blackout and the top 5 tips for me to have better health or better immune system when we have not just a blackout? Or are they the same?
No, it's not the same. For survive a blackout for 10 days, the most important thing is to have enough water.
Mm-hmm.
It's not sure that you get water out of the water tap.
Mm-hmm.
And you need minimum 2 to 3 liters per day per person.
Mm-hmm.
And that minimum for 10 days. Mm-hmm. And so everybody can count how much liters you need water in your garage or wherever. Mm-hmm. But store a little bit of water, because a minimum in the best times, 3 days, probably in 10 days, you can get water from outside.
Mm-hmm.
The second part is if you need medication frequently,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
have medication for minimum 2 weeks till 3 months at home.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we have this extraordinary situation, we need a time till the usually ways will work again.
Mm-hmm.
The second, if it will be cold outside,
mm-hmm.
have enough to keep you warm. The easiest is a rescue Notfalldecke, rescue decke.
Emergency ticket. I don't know what you mean. The gold.
Yes, the gold silver aeroplane.
Mm-hmm.
It can keep you warm and protect from water.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't need a lot of space, but everyone should have one of these.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then
was it number 3 already? No, number 4.
Number 4. Have something to eat which can give you energy. and you need not to cook. For example, some nuts or a tin of fish. It gives you a lot of energy and you need not cook. Yeah. Look what you like and have for some day energy spenders. And the fifth is talk with your family, your friends, how you can stay in contact. Yeah. To think about where can we meet us, where lives the next person I want to have contact to, and how can I get there? By foot, by bicycle, and make this contact safe. You need to make sure that you are not alone in this crisis, and it's an important step to know which are your neighbors. And if they know your neighbor and have a good neighborhood, it might be very easy to survive. And so make sure that you know your neighbors and your families and how to contact them.
Great. Thank you. Valuable tips. So now we have no blackout, and you said it's different. So what is your top 5, what I should do to be in good energy, shape, health, immune system?
Okay. Yeah. Be in balance with your soul, with your body, with your spirit. That's a top one, I can tell you. The second is look for the balance of working and sleep. Look what you are feeding your body. Make sure that you are drinking enough water. And make sure that you have healthy, good contact to people you like. And we are creations. We need contact to each other. And the very healthy thing is a 1-minute hug. Yeah. If you want to get the most important impulse to be healthy, give a hug to a person you like for 1 minute.
Wow.
That's the way you need to be in contact, and you feel how the heartbeats get similar. You stay in contact, and this energy is a very healthy impulse.
So the best way to hug is then from heart to heart, so the right side. Okay.
And 1 minute. That's important.
And in 1 minute, yeah.
Yes.
Because when we were not born yet in the womb, because we always heard a kind of heartbeat. Has this something to do with that?
It's very familiar. We hear the heartbeat inside the body of our mom. And we learn to decide from calm times with low heart beating, and we discover when it is stressy for the mom. We get the hormones and the quick heartbeat. This we learned and trained before we were born. And in the way we have a hug and we go in contact, in frequency, we remember how to feel well. And the 1 minute hug gives the impulse to put oxytocin. And oxytocin is a hormone which makes quite safe. And it's a very good impulse to be healthy.
So both times, the both situations, but as I said, it's very important to have the contact to the right, good person. So how can people contact you?
It's very easy. I work in Bochum, and over the homepage of the practice, you can reach me.
Okay, so we will give the address here in this. Stefanie, thank you very much for the insight, and thank you for also doing this in English. Well, no, that's not your daily task to speak English, but like with the blackout and all the other stuff, you're so, from your intention going so much deeper than a lot of other people are doing and doctors are doing. It's really a pleasure. And I know that we are just scratching the surface, and there's so much more we can go in, especially with all the COVID stuff, because we don't talk today about it, how advanced you are also there, and your knowledge and your connection to the right people and teaching. Interesting combination, teacher and a doctor who is interested to really understand the body and the humans. Thank you for that, and looking forward to have one day another show with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Wolfgang, and have a good time and stay healthy. You know how.
This was another episode of Winspiration, Wisdom and Information to support you getting out of illusions, false identifications, limiting beliefs. We all have the power and potential to be more, do more, have more, give more. Reality is what is possible in the universe, and the best is yet to come. If you want to dive deeper into possibilities of creating the extraordinary future, go to winspiration.global or to wolfgangsonnenburg.com. More information and some free downloads like the email program Dream Goals Reality or a copy of the book The Best Is Yet to Come can be found on the UK Health Radio website under the Listen on Demand and Presenters section. Join us again next week on the Winspiration Show for more wisdom and information to create your extraordinary future.